I've always liked video games. I have quite the handful, and there's a big selection I like to play from. But one game I could always go back to and have an absolute blast no matter what would undeniably be Delta. But there's also vrchat, and I guess I can make a video about that.
Yeah. Hey, you want a kid's meal?
vrchat, as the name suggests, is a game explicitly for socializing. So it begs the question on, well, why did it get any popular? Well, it's pretty simple. During the 2020s, the pandemic hit, and it was really, really dangerous to go outside. Considering we didn't really know anything about the virus at the time, and the most we knew is that it was an airborne disease, all we could really do is try to keep our distance and stay at home the best we can. Prevent germs and such. But that also made socializing very limited. You couldn't really go out and hang out with your friends like you used to. You couldn't get to family get-togethers at times. And with the growing sadness that comes from loss and pain, it doesn't make it any easier to, go to the hospital and watch all the people that suffered poorly from the disease. So a lot of people turn to hobbies, and that includes video games. At the same time, games like Animal Crossing would come out to big success, and because of online, a lot of people got to play together through various video games that had cross-play or just in general fun ones. For example, there was a big boom in Fortnite and Minecraft in specific. Fortnite had a lot more concurrent players considering it was an online cross-platform game that anyone could play. And Minecraft was just a very, good game at the time. It still is a good game, still very popular. A lot of people still play it. But at the time, especially because of multiplayer and in some cases crossplay, it was also pretty easy to get together on Minecraft. But another game that made a big resurgence and a popularity boost was undeniably vrchat, and this is due to two reasons. One, the most iconic YouTube channels that popularized the game, and secondly, the fact that it was a good way to socialize with people as if you were in person. It was the closest thing to being next to each other after all. You can actually move and interact with the environment, so it made sense people would flock to the game. However, in recent times, it's grown sort of a stigma against it. Considering the main thing you typically see are less than pleasant clips of people who take the game way too seriously. But why is this? What's with vrchat? Why is its player base like this? Or is its player base even like this? Why is vrchat the way it is? vrchat would initially release in 2014, later being ported to Steam on 2017. And as the years went on, it would be ported to more headsets and modernized with each release. Essentially nowadays, it's on any plausible thing that could run Steam or just a headset that works well enough in general. Anyone can play vrchat considering it's a free and accessible game, but that also causes two things. A, there needs to be a way to pay for servers that isn't exactly diminishing their reputation. You can't spam an online game full of ads because it really wouldn't make sense. But there was also no other way to really get money. And so they made a subscription. The subscription is vrchat Plus. It's always been around for pretty much as long as you can think of. Not actually, I don't really know the release date for that, but who cares? No one really cares for vrchat Plus. vrchat Plus provided some very basic perks as being able to set custom profiles, backgrounds, and a large amount of avatars you can keep. Avatars are public characters that anyone can use and anyone can make. As long as you have a computer to actually do it on, you're pretty much in free. Avatars are another kind of issue that we'll get around to in a second, but it's time to talk about its player base. Because of it being free, like I said, there was two things that came from it. As stated, the subscription payment kind of being a mandatory thing. No one needs to pay for it, it's not a mandatory payment. You don't have to buy it to play. But it was like the main way they got money. But another thing that arose from it was anyone being able to play. Meaning that if anyone knew how to run Steam or had a headset, it was pretty easy for anyone to get on. Which also meant a lot of children who, to just kind of ask for parents who are too negligent and just let kids get away with anything, we're able to get VRChat, a very explicitly more mature game. But that's not exactly the truth. Truth is, VRChat's not really an adult game. Despite what some people may think, it's honestly more of like a teen kind of game. If you're a teen, you'll play VRChat and maybe you'll drop in as an adult, but it's not really made for adults. Its original market is 13 plus, and it kind of makes sense. After all, it's ridiculous, wacky characters that can go anywhere. It doesn't really seem like an adult concept until people made it one. In recent days, now that we've settled all the ground rules, in recent days, there's a lot of adults that play the game. But because of that, there's a lot of people who feel the need to make the game more mature, bringing in more adult content like, not safe for work content and, drinking and alcohol, things like that. The game matured less because of the audience it attended, but more because of the audience that sort of just came. And this is especially why the pandemic is so important, because this is where its first big boom happened. Because people were so desperate to actually have a proper connection, they would go on a VRChat and, people of all ages would start playing. More adults, but also more kids. This kind of led it to our modern climate, which is not the greatest. You see, as stated before, there's people who take this game way too seriously, and it becomes a bit of a problem. To simplify, these are the people who feel the weird phantom sense stuff that everyone always talks about. In reality, it's kind of true. It's more of a psychological thing, but there's definitely an extent to it. Obviously, if you sucker punch someone in the face, they're not really going to start bruising, although it might just feel a little weird to them. There's some neuron science to it, but for the most part, it's pretty simple of more to just, your brain just kind of stimulates like a weird little feeling and less of pregnancy. But that's not the only thing that came from this. Another problem was because there were so many kids, it was essentially a breeding ground for predators. I don't really want to get too much into the specifics because there's many videos that already cover the problem of VRChat and its predators and its poor child protection works and stuff. It's only gotten slightly better in recent days, but it's definitely far from perfect. But that's not what I want to talk on about this video. I want to touch on how VRChat is so poorly handled and, utilized. Starting with the simple. VRChat is a game. Yes, it's a socializing game, but it's also a game at the end of the day. Games are meant to be fun and stimulating a bit, There's many different reasons people make games, but I feel like it goes so underappreciated, the effort and the, actual content that there is in VRChat. So my main thing about this video is I kind of want to just spotlight things that I feel are so disappointingly underutilized, and less so of just call out more predators and more of this, more of the bad, more of the negative. But I still do think it was mandatory and important to talk about it anyways. So let's just get to the next segment, because I don't really want to be the Debbie Downer. I don't want to have a sad, disappointing video. Most of them are, for the most part, very positive. At least the two other, the commentary videos I do. So we'll get to that. VRChat is far from a perfect game, but it's one of the games that suffer from the large, loudmouth people being the worst people of them all. It does really suck that the game kind of has this stigma around it, but it really does make sense why people would write it off as the weird, cringe, furry game. There's no problem with furries at all. I want to state that. I'm a Sonic fan, so I'm far from innocent. I'm not really a furry, but it's besides the point. The point is, it makes sense why people have the stigma against it. I'm not saying I don't get it. I'm not saying I agree with it. But I do think it's important to shine a bit of light to the game. And a bit more of a positive one, too. It's kind of got, like I said, such a negative stigma. A lot of people forget the good that came from this game. So let's do it ourselves. There's a lot of people and a big uprising and people who just kind of play the game to be rude, and it's just a bit taxing. You'll pretty much be put in a server at least once with a guy who thinks that the N-word is a good punchline and that, a slur is enough substance to make a joke funny. It's not really. So, not to be too pearl clutchy, I just kind of want to say that the people who kind of just jump into games to be rude aren't exactly the best representatives either. Just because you're being funny and ironic and, you're making fun of the weird guys doesn't exactly mean, you're any better. At the end of the day, we're just kind of hurting each other for something that's so minuscule and such a small, unimportant part of the game, like the player base. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, there is the weirdos, but there's sometimes where people just kind of bully the people who aren't even being odd or rude or disrespectful. It is important to know that, harassment isn't exactly going to help anyone, but, there's better ways to go about, how you express how you feel. Being an EXE fan, I've probably been disappointed so much by this one player. I was in a game once, and there was just a guy who was running around correcting people that he wasn't Sonic EXE, but he was Lord X. Such a small thing to point out, but he's one of the, the people that give us bad rep to begin with. So, back to the main point of the video. I want to touch on some of the games that I feel like could use a bit more spotlight. Recently, I feel like some games have been dying down, and in general, people do focus on just kind of sitting around in a circle and looking at themselves in mirrors. Yeah, it's fun to have cool and interactable characters and avatars to play as, but it's still important to actually play the games. And so this brings me to my next topic. Originally, I had footage that got corrupted when porting, so I don't have any visual evidence, but you'll just have to take what you get in the background. A big problem is that you can spend up to 3 to 4 minutes just looking for a server full of anybody actually playing the game. There's a lot of times where in games like Murder 4, which are really popular, and to simplify, it's just murder mystery. There's a lot of times where you're just going to join a game and there's people just sitting in the lobby doing nothing instead of where the actual game is. Murder 4 is a very boring game, and I don't really want to talk about it because it's just so uninteresting. It is very popular though, so, It's just a very stale map with, the same gameplay loop. Murder finds a knife, sheriff has a chance to shoot him, bystanders can find clues, but half the time you won't even find it, and when you do, it doesn't really go well, or it's too late. Murder 4 is just a boring game that's really popular, and I don't have the biggest or greatest opinion on it. If it isn't already obvious, I'm not a huge fan of it. Back on topic, you'll find a lot of times you're just in a server where no one even plays the game. All they do is sit outside and talk, and obviously it's VR chat, not VR game. So it makes sense that some people would prefer just to chat. But that also is kind of the purpose of other worlds explicitly made for that. So I would be lying if I'd say I wasn't upset whenever it happened, kind of ruining the game. There's also a lot of other good games that I feel like deserve more spotlight. Blackout is one of my all-time favorite games, but it doesn't have nowhere near the amount of players it should. It actually has modifiers and fun ways to play the game instead of just the same stale repetitive map and gameplay loop. Blackout does have a, similar gameplay loop, but it still has a bit more tension and a bit more of a chance to actually survive and help out your team, while also having some funny moments to squeeze in between by messing up or, accidentally killing someone with a bear trap. The general point I'm trying to get at is that there is a lot of games that do a lot of good, and I just kind of hope the best for them. I feel like there's a lot of games that deserve more popularity than they get, and some that deserve less, like the repetitive and boring Murder 4 as mentioned before, or the very outdated and poorly optimized Among Us remake. Nowadays, there's the Among Us VR, so you could just play that, but the VRChat version is very, very poorly done. So, let's just ignore that. So I'd like it to hand it off to the next version of me to talk a bit more about some games I would love to mention and talk about. VRChat, pretty wacky game. There's a lot of things I want to say, and I feel like I'll repeat a lot of my points throughout the video. And in general, I hope it doesn't come off as a bit repetitive. So I want to make a brief summary just to tie everything together. Essentially, my problem with VRChat is that not only has it just fallen off from popularity, but a lot of people are just very much antagonistic just for the sake of like TikTok clips and reactions. That's not really fun. Just being like intentionally rude isn't really like the coolest thing to do, obviously, but it kind of does give a bad reputation, because not only does it highlight these people who are intentionally being rude or antagonistic and paint them in a comedic and funny light, making everyone want to replicate that, it also paints people just trying to play the game or have fun as like some like lunatics who are all the same. And yeah, there is like the crazy phantom pain people who do like wacky things that don't really make sense and aren't like real. There's also just as many people who just want to have fun, play the game, meet people who like things they like, and a lot of similar things like that. And I couldn't say I've never like just been intentionally rude or like ridiculous just for the sake of it. But I was younger and I kind of matured. It is fun to just mess with people, but if like you're not doing it just out of spite, if there's just like something fun about it, if you're not like going crazy mean, like harassing people just for the sake of it, I think it can be fun for comedic little trolling videos. There are some good people. I think a Rat Grave, if that's their name, they do a good job, decently well. They're not too antagonistic. Yeah, they have their moments, but at the same time, it's like the extreme people. And like I said, I really don't like the extreme phantom sense, phantom allergy, phantom pregnancy, or whatever. People are like the biggest like vocal part of VRChat's like player base, because admittedly there are a lot of fun games. I've shown a lot of good examples throughout the video if you watch the footage. But it's also just like, I do get where some people are coming from, where they kind of are off-put by like, public lobbies, because there is a lot of silly like shenanigans that happen. There's the rude, like unnecessarily racist people who think the N-word is a punchline. There's a lot of people who are just like ridiculous, like absolutely just like bonkers with the things they do. Like I said, the weird phantom pregnancy stuff or whatever. And there's also just like a lot of eat-haters sometimes. Eat-haters are really common, probably because it's just a really accessible and like basic way to like hang out in like a semi-close way that's like kinda intimate. I guess I could see the appeal, but it's more fun to play the game than anything. And my general point of this video is just kind of to show people that there is more to VRChat that should be appreciated beyond just the gooner stuff and the lunatics that like run around parading the bodies of furries across the land. And honestly, why? It's just, I feel like there should be more attention to VRChat, because it had its big burst in popularity during the pandemic, and then it had its big burst of controversy with the amount of like videos based off of rumors and stuff. There was one really good channel, if I can find them, I don't know, I'll put like a PNG on screen probably. If not, I don't know, let me get like a funny clip. But yeah, there's a lot of good, a lot of bad. And I just feel like amongst all the bad, there is still some good to be found. in VRchat, mainly just through the games and the way you can connect with people. Bring some friends in. It's easily accessible. Anyone can play pretty much, as long as you have like a PC and Steam or any kind of headset, considering it is VRchat, so it makes sense. It's VR accessible to pretty much every single kind except Nintendo Labo. I'm sorry.
My name's Halo,
but I hope that by watching this video, you might pick the game back up yourself, maybe play a few minutes. Maybe this will bring more players to actually enjoy the games, because I do like playing the game every now and again. I do like VRchat, but I can't look past how glaring some issues and how prevalent they can be. So I just hope that the people of VRchat can better themselves, and most of all, I hope we can attract more players to actually have fun, be the people they want to be, have a little fun time, meet new people, reconnect with old ones, just hang out with friends. But as always, that's not my decision, that's yours. Some really good games I forgot to mention are the Cupton challenges, which, yes, they are very much Deltarune based, so it is more of a niche if you're not into Deltarune, but it's still a fun time considering it's another climbing game, which I feel like climbing and grapple hooks are so underutilized because of how cool and fun they were when they first were discovered. I remember when the climbing tools were so different to how it is now, where you can just press a trigger and climb normally. Back then you had to use a bunch of technical stuff, and it was really cool because you can climb on anything back then. But I'm really glad there are these kinds of fun physics based or climbing stuff still around. I really like Deltarune if it hasn't been apparent enough in the background or just the way I talk about the game. So I love the Cupton challenges, and they're just a good time, Deltarune fan or not. It is obviously very much for the fans, so the style, it's very obvious, very evident, but it is a real blast. It is a good time, fan or not. You'll have a little bit of fun. There's also the 2 Mario ports I think I mentioned. They're not ports, they're just remakes. I'm pretty sure I mentioned them in the video. If not, this is a better chance to go into deeper depth. I replayed both of them, and what a blast. It is still just as good as it always was. It's fun, it's simple. You can beat it in 10 minutes if you know Mario 64 at all. So it literally won't take that long. It's a blast. You can speed run. Any recorded speed runs are shown. And let me tell you about this gem. Absolute gem. Hook Junkers is an absolute classic. It is one of my favorite VRchat games because not only was it one of the first, but it is just so good. I wish it had more to do. It's very stylized. It's got no music, unfortunately, unless you're doing the challenges, which are really fun, admittedly, especially once you get the grapple hook mechanics down. You can grapple with both of them, right and left, as long as you have them equipped. And if you grapple onto any surface, you regain your double jump. So you can maximize this like crazy and pull some cool stunts off. If I have the time, I might go back and record a run just to kind of be put on the leaderboard, because it's not hard to get on there, admittedly, if you know what you're doing. There are some good ones. I think I got 3 minutes. The record is like 1 minute, 2 minute, something along those lines. But I love Hook Junkers. It's one of the oldest games, I think. One of the older games, not oldest. One of the oldest worlds I visited when I first started playing. It was really fun. Good to revisit. You know, it was nice. Hook Junkers is just a classic to me. There's also better grapple hook games that have come out in modern times, but they don't really resonate with me all too much. I think it's the stylization above all. But they are still good games. There is Great grapple hook challenge. I don't know what it's called. I'll probably put a screenshot of it. If I don't, funny video like always. And that's on the cusp of my. There's also the cooking game, cooking something. I don't remember. Crazy Chefs, whatever. But it's a classic. It's also another fun one. Good with friends, very good with friends. I've tried it like 2 times and we have failed every time. So there's that. That one's good, like group game to play. Try to speedrun it, or you can just have a little bit of fun. Messing with the environment. There's some other games I couldn't get to play, like Ghost. I think I talked about it in the major section, the big section. Ghost is just goated. You get a gun, you get a certain amount of time to find out who the ghost is, and as the ghost, you have to kill everyone before they find out who you are. The game is absolutely dead. I wanted to get some footage for it, but nobody was really playing, so that is unfortunate. Do hope that game makes a comeback or something. That was one of the only games that actually had multiple maps. I really liked the mansion map. It was really fun, really unique. There was also like a house map, and there was the police station. It was a good time. I wish I had recorded footage from when that game was still up, but I don't think I have any. And if I do, it's probably too old to be ported to my computer. There was this one Portal game. It was really fun. I remember it vividly. It is just a short time. You can do it by yourself, but I remember doing it with my compadre, my cousin. And we kind of just stormed through it. Stormed through the whole game. That was a classic. It was a good memory of mine. There's obviously like Prison Escape, Blackout, and like Murder 4. There's like the actually Blackout, Among Us, oddly enough. Among Us, Prison Escape, and Murder 4 are like the big 3 of vrchat games, but I like Blackout way more. It's more fun to me. Among Us is just outdated. Just so outdated. It needs like big updates, but the creator never does anything now, so what can you do? What's that other? I keep forgetting. I know. Vividly. There's this one bomb game I used to absolutely adore playing. You had to collect gems and like upgrade your weapon, and the goal is to kind of kill everyone else, knock them out. I don't remember what it's called. It fell off heavy, fell off hard. There was barely any players when I did play, so I really hope that game makes a comeback. If I could ever find footage of it in general, then I'll definitely want to put it up. But I really like that game. That was a good one. There's a lot of games that just kind of fell off, and some games that were at the top but then just kind of fell off because they're too gimmicky. There's a lot of racing games, but if you're not into racing, you're not really gonna like those. So, yeah. This is a hide and seek, but the map sucks, and it's really not that good. But I will say that it is a fun time every now and again, because it's like your little guy, there's a giant, so you can't just run around. It is a good time. I have fun with it. Oh, it's Putt Party, Putt Quest. Putt Quest, that's a golfing game, a mini golf game. It's simple, it's very basic, but it is a classic, unfortunately. The golf games are just classic. I've played it a couple times. I tried getting through the whole course, and I just got frustrated at one point. And in general, I had to get off. I had to go eat, growing boy and all. Putt Quest is classic. There's a night and day version. If that game never comes back, not too bad, because it's not really a game that needs to be popular. It's more of just a game you can play with your compadres, play it once in a while. So it's not really a crazy, like, mind-blown experience. You're not gonna have like a stroke if you don't play, or the game doesn't make a resurgence. Yeah, but there are some great games. I'll hand it back off to either the closing statement or back to the big video. I don't know how the editing goes because I am in the past. Good luck, future me. You'll have a terrible time editing this. I know so, because I'm you. There's a lot of games I didn't mention or just didn't feel like listing, considering there's a bunch. There's a lot of FNAF remakes if you're interested. But vrchat can be fun, and I just hope people don't forget that. And in general, I just hope that all players can get a little better. It's really annoying, really frustrating to find people just sitting in the lobby and a bunch of racist people running in, shouting slurs and thinking, oh damn, really the funniest thing I could come up with. Just watch and learn. It's really not. It's really not funny. Point and case. So, ladies and gentlemen, everything in between and beyond, have a great, wonderful rest of your day. And if not, have a good night. Oh my god. This is a horror game? This is really creepy. I feel so tiny. Is this meant to be aesthetic? Because I'm really just creeped out, admittedly. This is creepy. There's no music or anything. Just weird structure. This is like the back rooms.